It's the time of year. I've already got some of my residual customers set up. Coming, I start a little bit late compared to other guys. I get busy with windows in October, but I'm going to be really, really busy hanging Christmas lights, exclusively Christmas lights, starting November 1st. So I'm already starting to get my marketing out there, not just in order, but out there. So I've got 10,000 postcards ready to go. And actually might have a little bit more than that, but I'll be ordering more too. Now that I've hired somebody, I'll be able to take on more help. But most importantly, I want to know, what are your questions? I'm hoping to do some more content over the next few months talking about Christmas lights. And obviously, time is of the essence. So if you need help before we get into the thick of the season, if you're trying to prepare right now, let me know what are some of the questions you have or some of the issues that you might have had. Maybe you did try it out last year. Maybe you didn't get as busy as you were hoping for. Just what are the struggles you're going through? Comment below. And, this is being recorded live right now. But if you watch this later, I will get back to your questions and I will answer in the comments, or I will create a whole video based on your question to address everything as well as I can. So, as you may know, Christmas lights is a pretty big chunk of my business. I think last year, I mean, I don't have a huge business, right? And I don't go all in on Christmas lights to the same level that some other guys do. So, full disclosure, I'm just a normal guy doing things the best that I can, right? Now, I do the leasing model, and it does a really good job. I highly recommend doing the leasing model for Christmas lights. The alternative would be selling the lights to the customer. The only hard part about the leasing model is that you have to store everything. Some guys will actually lease them and try to have the customer store them, but I find it kind of cancels it out, not as incentive, as good of an incentive. But if you're offering to store the materials, it makes it so that you have them ready to go for next year. If they move away, you have extra lights. And so they're not having to commit to a particular color. That's actually one of the selling points that I use sometimes when people are saying, well, so and so said they'll sell us the lights. Well, number one, if there's a repair, and this would be a good kind of objective overcoming type of tactic, right? If somebody is telling you they don't want to go with you because you're not selling the lights, it happens, they say that. The most often, or the best responses are that, one, if something goes wrong with the lights, they're our lights, we own them, we're leasing them to the customer, so they're not going to have to pay anything else for us to come and fix them. And on top of that, we're going to keep them in the best shape so that we don't want to get called back. We'll come back if we have to, but we try to avoid that. So we'll do our best to make sure everything is in good shape before we put it up there and that they're not going to have any problems. And then if there are problems, we're going to be there. Sometimes customers who have a company that sells them the lights, they either have to fight about, how much are they going to charge to replace a bulb, or there's a strand that went out and they have to splice together the cord. Little things happen and they nickel and dime the clients or the customers. So I tell that to my customers, and that helps them feel like, oh, you're right. On top of that, when releasing the lights, the second thing is they can change the colors if they want to. Maybe they have kids and they want to do multicolor this year. Next year, they want to go all white, or vice versa. Maybe they want to try something like more festive, like red, white, and green. We can be flexible with those things. Now, 99% of the customers don't really care to change things up. But if they do, we're flexible. Some people will charge a rebulbing fee. That's up to you. I've never done that. I've only had a rebulb, I think, like 2 times, and both those customers were great customers, so it was worth it. The little added step, you know, $20 to have somebody go through and rebulb things, it wasn't a big deal. So we just kind of bake that into the whole recipe, or the whole price. The other reason is maybe they don't want to store the lights. Maybe they don't have room. They got enough junk in their garage. They don't want to lose lights in there too. So if we're selling the lights, we're not going to store them. They've got to store them. We save them room and we save them the hassle of having to find the lights and have them ready before we come the next year. And that's one of the things I always struggled with when I did try to sell the lights is they would never have the lights ready. They'd be like, "Oh, I didn't have a chance to get it yet." So all kinds of things like that, right? So it's pretty nice when you have the lights already and you're just going to bring them and put them on their house. They don't have to be home. They don't have to coordinate with you. You just show up, when you're ready and you take care of business. Now, the other reason is that sometimes, if you're, this is nuanced from one business to another, right? Typically, if you're selling the lights, you're going to sell them about at retail. Some guys will mark up 10% or 20%. You want to make sure, like, it takes time to put in the orders and to get everything right. And you might be getting a wholesale discount, but you have every right to have a markup on the lights when you're selling them to the customer. So maybe you're spending like a buck 25 a bulb and you sell them to the customer for a buck 50 a bulb. Like, that's your prerogative. Maybe that's a little low, but just for the sake of this discussion, right? So if you're going to lease the lights, you can basically give them, you basically charge in the lease at cost the first year. So even though it's not a significant difference, you could even technically lose a little money on the lights if you're trying to, haggle or deal with a haggler. You just give them somebody else's old lights or throw them up there and you take a little hit the first year. I've done that before. When I was first getting started in Texas, I took a hit on a couple houses just to get some lights up because I was having a hard time figuring out what neighborhoods to decorate. And so I went a little lower on some prices, technically lost money on the price of lights. If you're separating the cost of lights versus the labor. And so you can basically break that down. If they're going to book with you and be in a contract for 3 years, then you've got 3 years that you can bill out the value of the lights from them. So that's several reasons right there why it the benefit to the customer when you lease the lights to them versus them owning the lights. So I'm lease all the way. And then that just basically you're just stacking money every year because most of the customers come back. Um, I mean, if you're in an area where people don't move around too much, you can have the same customers. You might have like 95% return rate of the people who installed last year coming back next year. Now, if you're in a place like I'm in North Dallas, and I didn't ever expect that there would be a lot of churn here, but there is a lot of people selling their houses, especially this year. There's so many listings in real estate. Like everybody's trying to sell their house this year. It seems like, they bought their house during COVID or before COVID. Now their house is almost worth double. And they were waiting for the interest rates to come down a little bit, and now they're trying to see what they can get in the market, sell their house, and move a little bit further out from the city center. It's just kind of a pattern that's formed. And so I have probably half a dozen people who've already let me know that they moved from a Christmas light client. Now, thankfully, a lot of them tell the people they sell to try to use us to install their lights. And so we've gotten a couple of people like we haven't sealed anything yet, but a lot of them are coming to us and getting prices at the very least. So um, that's one of the things that happens. If you're in a market where there's a lot of people moving, you have a higher chance of people, not being there anymore, and so they don't need your service. So, hey, average content, what a name. How's it going? It's good to see you. Thanks for commenting. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions about Christmas lights in general. Again, I'm doing this live right now, but this video will be reposted afterwards for anybody who's got any questions. I'm hoping to use it as kind of a springboard, get the demo going, and hopefully get some questions that I can answer over the time over the next few months. So we're getting into the Christmas light thinking season. Like it's time to start marketing for it. It's time to start letting people know. Number one way to get new customers is if you've already got your business going, you're cleaning windows or you're doing any exterior service, honestly. Go back to your customer list and start out with an email blast, a series of email blasts. Then you can go through and you can text them or call them. Just one on one, just go through the list and let them know, hey, we're offering Christmas lights. We'd love to give you a price, and then set up an in-person consultation. I found with Christmas lights in particular, there's a lot of nuance that can come up. A lot of different companies have different ways that they pitch things. And so with Christmas lights in particular, unlike window cleaning, I do everything on the phone. Christmas lights, I'll do it on the phone if I can in a pinch, but or like if I'm just so busy. But so how do you normally quote it? So this is what I do. I set up an appointment to go there in person, take a look at things. And I've been doing Christmas lights for several years now, so I can kind of just eyeball it and figure out, okay, that'll be about X amount, that'll be about you add in your mind and just let them know the different elements. But I love Jobber in particular for Christmas light quotes. They have templates where you can basically have a lot of different line items already spelled out, and you just kind of put the individual prices for each one. So I'll go through, and just a heads up, the parts of the house that you decorate change from region to region. Like, honestly, it's completely different from San Diego to New York to Texas. Like, right now where I'm at in Texas, the big money is usually just doing the linear foot of a roof line. You can go around on the ground around the plant beds and around the perimeter of windows using hot glue. We have a lot of brick. If you've got wood siding or then wood siding is tough. You have to staple. A lot of people don't like staples. Vinyl siding, a lot of times you can actually kind of clip onto the vinyl or kind of just tuck it in. So your nuance from region to region. So keep that in mind whenever you're watching anybody talking about pricing. Regions make a huge difference. But I'll take each different element of the house. The main thing is the roof line, right? Roof line's where the money's at. People are afraid to get a ladder and they're afraid to go up there. A lot of people die putting up Christmas lights, or they fall and break an arm or a leg or a shoulder or a collarbone. I've heard more people getting injured from Christmas lights than anything else. I actually heard about a firefighter in my local hometown. It wasn't in the media, but I found out a customer of mine, his son, is in the fire department, and they said that a firefighter who hung lights actually died last year. So it's a dangerous thing for even the people who might be more apt to do that type of a service. So make sure you're doing your safety and remember to remind your customers that it's dangerous. Then you're taking that risk, but you're also taking the precautions so that the risk is mitigated by your diligence. So we'll do the price for the roof line. Last year I started making the minimum of the roof line $400. That includes the Lisa light, so it's really not that much. And that's for like a small, 75 to 100 foot wide or lights on the front of a house. Then we would take the elements of like doing the perimeter of the windows. That would be another line item going around the windows and doors. Then there would be another line item for like doing landscape lighting, like around the plant beds. I'm still talking about like C9 bulbs that are in the stake lights. Then if you were going to decorate, like I don't do this so much in Texas, but then if you're going to do the bushes or shrubs or trees, you put a line item for each kind of separate elements of those. Oh, I just missed your comment. Oh, here we go. Do you find customers more laid back in Texas compared to New York or California? I mean, not really. California, you can't get more laid back than Californians, and most of the Texans now are from California. It seems like in this area. So, um, everybody has their nuances. In New York, people are more straightforward if they don't like you or if they don't like something about what you're saying. So it's a lot easier to gauge the people in New York because they're very open, very clear with their communications. As a matter of fact, that's one of the things I didn't like is if they weren't complaining to you about something, then you knew that they would complain about you to someone else. So um, yeah, so I think that kind of answers the question. I would take each individual item of the house as a separate line item, and then they can go through and pick which ones they want. If they only, and I always offer them alternative prices, like alternative decorative elements. A big thing that I've found is I've never done the greenery, like the wreaths and garland, but a lot of people who I'm being schooled now on this by other guys who are OGs in the industry. When I was in San Diego, people didn't really care about it. Now it's just more available. People think about it more often. But greenery, you basically lease it to them at cost. So year one, if it costs you $200 to get the greenery, you're charging them 200 to 250, 200 to $300 to lease the materials that you bought for the $200 price. And so the next year, you're completely like extra. The hard part is storing it, right? Like you need a lot of space to store it. You have to hang it somehow. If you hang a wreath on a pole or something, it's going to start to kind of like it starts out as a circle and it starts like turning into an egg shape. Like it just stretches over time. So you have to be careful with how you store them. And so that adds a complicated logistic to the equation that I've always tried to stay away from. But now I've heard like when people who are very wealthy are decorating, they love the look of the greenery. And so the more you can do, the more you can offer them, the more profitable it can become. And even if people get into like the permanent lights, which is a new up and coming thing, there's a lot of things out there. There's like sometimes you can find a free course. Um, I'm trying to remember the Omni Lights offers free courses in different regions, and they have a really spectacular permanent light. I already got certified with them, but I'm not planning on doing permanent lights. But if you were doing permanent lights, or if you're thinking about it, it's a great opportunity where now you upsell the greenery for the Christmas season, so you don't lose them as a Christmas light customer. They'll still have you do a wreath and some greenery, and like a wreath, you can get them for like $100, and you charge $150 to install them every year. Just part of the package. It turns a $400 roof line plus windows and doors going around the perimeter of those. That might be another $200. So now you're at $600. I do like $50 to $75 per opening, by the way. It comes out to like Texas, where I'm at in Texas in particular, is one of the most competitive zones for Christmas lights. So I feel like I'm expensive compared to everybody else because charge like $5 a linear foot, and that's typically how we price things. If you're not eyeballing it, it's $5 a linear foot, and that's like 4 is like barely breaking even, it seems like. But there's a lot of landscapers who will charge like 3. So I don't get it, but it is what it is. If you're up in the Northeast or somewhere on the coast, whether Pacific Coast or East Coast, you're looking at like $10 to $15 per linear foot. So those guys are making a killing up there, but they're having to deal with more elements as well. I don't have to worry about snow here. Rarely gets cold, only rains a little bit, so our days are pretty easy compared to theirs. And I think that's part of the price difference. Lower barrier to entry in the South here. So same thing kind of in California. But having said that, you give a price for the roof line, the windows and doors, like the perimeters of those. This is just a small, like 2,000 square foot house with a really basic roof line. You can get 400 for the roof line, 200 for the windows and doors, another, you could get another few $100 if you were to get the rooftop or if you're going to do any of the plants. And so it adds up to $1,000 real quick. So there's a lot of things you can do. But with that said, my son just got out of soccer practice. And guys, just remember, if you have any other questions or anything you want to talk about with regards to Christmas lights, I've been doing it. This is the first service I ever did when I got into the home service industry. Before I ever cleaned windows, I had done Christmas lights first. So I've been around for a while. I've seen a lot of people come and go in the industry, and I know there's a lot of help out there nowadays. But I'm more than happy to be a resource for you guys. So just comment below and I'll get back to you. And otherwise, I'll see you guys around. Thanks for watching.